All right, everybody, welcome to the PTA Inspire series. Today I have a very special guest that I've been waiting for her to pass her boards for a while, but I am so excited that we have Cassie here right now. And she's going to kind of give her story. I think this is going to be one of the most inspiring stories that we've done on this series in a while, honestly, because this girl had every opportunity to throw in the towel and she just said, no, I'm going to keep going. And now she's licensed and working in pediatrics. So I'm super excited to have Cassie here. Cassie, welcome to the PTA Inspire series.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I have always wanted to do one of these with you, so I am super excited.
I knew you could do it. I was just like, I'm like, it's all gonna be okay. I'm like, she's gonna do it. She's gonna get there. So I know a good chunk of your story, but there's always like lore. I feel like I learn about people as I do these interviews. So just kind of fill us in on why you started to pursue physical therapy, specifically PTA versus PT, and how you ended up in this, field and sphere of work.
Well, I was originally doing something completely different in a different field. I have to think about it because I have too many, really, truly. I have three other degrees. I started getting my regular associate's degree, and then I had my associate's in science in equine physiology. And then I got my bachelor's in business with a specialization in agriculture. My goal was to run an equine facility. And I also have my massage therapy certification for horses. So I was doing like equine sports therapy, running equine facilities, that kind of thing. That's what I was originally doing. And after I graduated with my bachelor's, I went to school in Ocala near Gainesville, and then in Florida. And then I act like everybody knows where that is. And then I got a job offer actually on the other coast near Tampa, Florida. And it was for a management of a facility that also did hippotherapy. So they did horse therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy all within this one facility. I was in charge of doing their horse stuff, of course. And I was running that with some employees under me and everything for like about a year and a half. And I found myself hanging out more with the physical therapist and really liking what they were doing, and they were doing similar things to what I was doing but just with people, and I just thought I didn't like people enough to work with people. But then I ended up working here and it was with pediatrics, and I was like, I should go back to school for this. um, it took about 6 months to really decide to go back to school. And then I had to do a whole bunch of different prereqs because they're completely different than business school. So I had to do all the anatomy, physiology, all of the like medical prereqs. So I did those. And then I was trying to decide if I wanted to do PT or PTA. The difference for me was the student loan debt, and there's not a huge difference in our pay yearly. So I just decided to not spend all the money on PT school if we were going to be doing similar things. And I could just not do all of the paperwork that PTs have to do and make around the same amount and go home, basically. Um, so then I made a list of all of the PTA schools in the entire state of Florida and just started applying. They all have different application of what they require. So I just basically made a list, and whoever was going to take me, it was going to take me, and that's where I was going to move and do it. So I was like determined that I was going to figure it out. And then I ended up getting, ironically, into a school in Tampa. So I got to stay in the area of where I was familiar with. Um, and that was an accelerated program, which was interesting too. And it was a private university. And then, yeah, that's basically how I like got into school and went down that path.
There you go. I forgot about your equine background. I knew you were in vet med and everything, but I
Yeah.
forgot exactly what animals you were working with, because I know you love all animals, so I feel like there's like any animal that you said I work with, I was like, yeah, like definitely Cassie would be totally fine working with them. But yeah, that's a lot of different things that, you've gone through, and like I feel like you've lived like 5 lives, but we're like the same age. So it's like,
Oh,
wow,
I
that's
know. I feel
crazy.
like the kid who's like telling all these stories that aren't true. Like people look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. It's a very interesting background for sure.
That's like when people look at me and I tell them like, oh, I majored in Spanish, and they're like, no, you
Yeah,
didn't. And I'm
like,
just like, I promise I did. I can show you my degree.
uh-huh.
But no, that's awesome. So you got into PTA school. You did
Mhm.
PTA school. Like, did you notice any like barriers that you were having like through PTA school, or was it more just afterwards with like the board studying?
Um, I remember this is gonna sound so bad. I remember crying a lot in PTA school. Like I remember like
Same.
I know. I remember I would always like I swear I didn't have like this bad anxiety before I started school, and then like after I went through PTA school it's like a whole experience and I'm like anxious now. Um but I remember like crying before practicals all the time and like thinking that I wasn't going to like get through this. We had like 25 students in our class when we started and only 12 of us graduated. So it was very hard, and it being accelerated also made it like a whole nother level for no reason. um so I mean, in terms of school it was kind of just I was just getting it through like 1 week at a time. Basically I was like, listen, I work so hard to like be able to do it that I was like, once I'm in, I'm like, I'm gonna figure out how to do this. So but there was definitely times where I was like, this is really hard, but never a time where I was like, I'm gonna give up, not do this. So and then, yeah, the real struggle became afterwards for the boards. My school like really encouraged us to take the test immediately after we graduated, and like they thought that we were all ready, and I was not ready, and I didn't understand why I was like so off on the test. So the real struggle, yeah, was to actually pass the test because it's nothing like really like real life in terms of like treating patients and stuff. So
Yeah, the boards is definitely different. Do you feel comfortable telling the people kind of like your story with all of your attempts and
yeah,
what was
yeah.
going on?
um, let's see. I was trying to like look up scores, like actual scores, and the two first attempts that I had, I just don't even know my score. I know that they like weren't even worth like I think they were like the first time I tested, I graduated in July. See, I don't know like the exact, I can't keep track of the exact timeline. It's been so many times, but I graduated in July and I like immediately took it like, when's the next test? Like October, I think. And it was like a 400s. I think I got like a 450 or something
Oh
stupid.
man.
And I was like, that's insane. And then I did like a whole, um, I did a different course and I reached out to my teachers like, hey, is there anything that we could be doing? And then I got in the 500s on the next time that I attempted, but I was not making anywhere near what I needed to. And so my friend from school, China, actually recommended your YouTube videos to me. And then that is how I found you. And after that, my scores ended up being like close, like really kind of in the closer to the 600 range. The last two times I tested, they were like close, but just not like close enough, basically. I don't exactly remember the exact like numbers. I
I
think,
remember one was like a 550 something. Like
yeah,
that's
it was
all I
like a
remember.
550, and then the next one was like a little bit more than that, but not by much, like maybe like a 560 something, 570. Like they were getting closer, but never like close enough. But I did notice a huge difference between your course in my scores, those two attempts before the one that I actually passed. So, and then I took it. My fifth attempt was the one that I actually passed. I technically had six, but the state of Florida doesn't recognize the sixth one as being licensed. So it was like my last attempt to be licensed and stay in the state and practice in the state. So,
Hmm. And I think some people don't realize that. So if you're from Florida, listen up. Florida just only allows 5 lifetime attempts. They don't care if you passed on your 6th attempt and you worked as a PT or a PTA. This is for both PTA and PTA. They don't care if you've worked in another state for 20 years and then you want to move to Florida and retire in Florida. They don't care, and they won't license you despite 20 years of work if you passed on your 6th attempt in another state. So you only have 5 attempts in Florida. So if somebody's trying to have you like just go push through and take a test and you're not ready for it, like don't waste an attempt, especially in Florida. There's other states you can petition for a 7th, 8th, 9th attempt. Like California does not care. They're like, woo, unlimited attempts. Like, let's go. At least for now they do. So
Right.
it's wild. But Florida is extremely strict and they don't recognize compact acts or anything like that. So you got 5 chances. If not, you can never practice in Florida. Yeah, they don't care. The only way you would
I
do
know.
it is if you took the other test, so went from PTA to PT or
I,
took the
I will. I
PTA
was
test.
about that being my backup plan. I was like, because I was so determined to do this at this point, like low key out of spite, because I was like so over this. I was like, I have to do this now because this is stupid. So I was like, listen, if I take my sick, I'm gonna try all the attempts I can for the PTA, and then if I don't make it, then I can just go back to school and be a PT, and then try 6 more times.
Oh my god.
I was like, I could do that. It's a backup plan.
Cassie was determined. So you're not getting this from this right now. Like she was ready to give. She was just like, I'm only stopping if people tell me like legally you can't do this
Yeah,
anymore.
like if I
Like
did all my things and they said I can't do it anymore, I'd be like, okay, then all
I was
right.
just imagining you like running a marathon, just getting like pulled off the course and your like legs like bleeding and everything, and everyone's like, you can't be doing this anymore.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's how you were about this test. But you
Yeah.
passed on your 5th attempt, which I know there was a lot of pressure for you and everything. What do you feel like was the biggest difference, like to get you over the hump from that like 4th to 5th attempt? Like, what do you feel like you changed or like we helped with or whatever?
Right. I feel like a couple different things. I always on my other attempts knew that I was studying and like putting in time, but I always felt like it wasn't 100% of what I could be doing. And it was always like 80, 90. Like I didn't like I would make a plan and I would like mostly stick to it. But then there was like off times where I wouldn't, and then I would test and I wouldn't make like what I need to be making. And I just got to the point where I was like, I am so tired of doing this that I really need to just stick to my plan, because if I go in my 5th attempt and don't pass, then at least I know I put in 100% and I did everything I possibly could this time to like really do it. So I think going back and reevaluating my whole plan really helped. I did like the major, excuse me, the major topics still, but then I think the last like 2 weeks I made like a mass list of everything I like still wasn't sure about or felt like I needed more I guess like brushing up on. And I really just for 2 weeks conquered like so many of the hardest topics that I felt like were hard, like joint mobs and all of that. And I was like, I'm gonna figure them out because these are all the points that I'm missing that I really need to like understand that I could be making like over 600 with. So I really need to like, and then now I know them. So um and I think that by doing that and like forcing myself to get over the hardest topics first gave me a lot more self confidence when I went in for my practice exams and when I did the actual like test itself. I also feel like a lot of I did not have the most like supportive people around me in terms of like they weren't really understanding like how hard this test was. And because none of them are in the medical field. I mean, my sister's a dental assistant, but it's not really the same. um, so I didn't really understand. They were just like, "Why aren't you testing again? Like, just it's just a test." And they didn't really. So I think just changing and like setting boundaries between everybody like around me in terms of like I can't go do that thing this weekend with you because I told myself I was going to study and I was going to do X, Y, and Z, and that's going to come first. And then I would try and find extra time to study. Like I would wake up an hour earlier, stay up an hour later to make sure that I had those set study times that I was like getting it done so that whatever happened in my day, if I got really busy, it didn't matter because what I needed to do already got done. And like kind of just setting that as a priority and setting the boundaries with those around me that this is what was going to be my life for the next 4 months. And that was it. So,
Yeah, I mean that's wonderful advice for people because I think a lot of people are in similar situations where it's not so much that your family or friends like don't want to see you succeed, they just don't get it. Like that's the biggest thing. Um and I think you really made a lot of good strides with just your mindset that for this last attempt. Like
mhm,
really, talking positively to yourself, like not getting as angry about the questions, like trying to understand versus getting, emotionally worked up about it, which I notice a lot of people make that mistake. And it's not that like your rationale wouldn't be bad if you were doing that in the clinic, but it's like that's not what the boards want.
right. Yeah. It was, yeah. And it was interesting. When I filmed myself before I tested and I did like a vlog because I was like, I just like was really manifesting it being my last time. So I was like, if it's my last time, my last attempt, then I want to document it and like have it for later. So, but like that's, I think proves where my mindset was. Like I was really just set on this being like the last one. And I would just tell myself that for 4 months. I was like, this is my last attempt. I'm going to understand all the topics I don't understand when I go into this next one. And that's it. This is gonna be done. Like we're done now. And I just keep telling myself like was my last attempt. And even in the video, I'm like, this is my last attempt. Like this is
Do
gonna
you want
be
me to like insert that here in the final cut of like your video?
I know, right? I should
I can
I
do I can put it in and then be like, here people, this is what it sounds like.
I will absolutely send you all the things because I did
Okay.
like a video of me. I was so nervous morning of, but I did a video when I was like walking my dog. I was like, this is morning of my test. I'm feeling X, Y, and Z. And then I was like, this is me driving to my test. I pre-made a playlist, like a hype
There you
playlist.
go.
And then I filmed myself when I came out of the test of like how I was feeling then, which is like I don't feel like I passed, of course. But I should have filmed myself when I got my results, but I didn't. So I'm missing
That's
that.
okay. Well, talk about that when you opened it up and it finally was a pass circle. How'd you feel?
I
Like
was
walk us through it.
driving.
No, I knew you messaged me in the
I
car,
was
but I didn't realize you were driving. That
I'm
is not
driving.
a good
I,
idea.
I was it wasn't my intention, but like of course I am always the person who like doesn't want to check. Like in the past, I was like, I don't want to check, I don't want to check, and I'd always have people check for me. But I checked myself this time, which was like very rare for me, and it was like the earliest because I remember texting Kelsey, who was on this podcast previously. She was my accountability partner through this for a while, and I remember texting her like, I'm not gonna check until after everybody like checks theirs. Like, I don't really want to know. And then she's like, just text me when you actually end up checking it. And then like 5 minutes later, I got a message on Voxer saying that the results were up. And then I like checked and texted her. I was like, I passed. And she was like, what happened to you waiting to check? And I was like, I don't know. So I was driving. I got a message that they were out, the results were out. And I was driving to my fiance's parents' house to see them after work. And I was like, I can't wait until I get there. Like, I have got to. So while I was driving, signed in and saw the pass circle. And I remember like crying, basically, like having, like, it's so weird after like so long of getting the not pass sign to have the pass circle. It was so like strange. Yeah, and then I got my license pretty quickly after that too, which I wasn't expecting, so it's just weird because now I have like a number and I'm out doing it by myself now, and it's like really strange still. Even now I'm like, are you sure? um But I remember like running in the house and going, I passed. And then everybody was like so excited. And I should have got it on film, but I didn't because
That's
I'm
okay.
driving and I shouldn't have been checking while I was driving already.
I have your voice recording of you like crying and like you're like, I have to tell other people, but I wanted to tell you first, but now I have to tell other people. I'm just like, she's driving. Like, first of all,
I,
like I don't know if I have it on like one of our Ring cameras. I've had my Ring cameras capture it before of just me being like, Nick, so and so passed. Like, I know I definitely like shouted it, like, but I don't think anyone was home. I think it was just to the cat.
yeah, you were like, hey, just so you know.
Like, I was like so excited. I even called my mom, so she was happy for you because she
I
remembered you too.
know. She's been involved since day one too. That's
I
so
know.
sweet.
I know my whole like I make sure the whole fam gets involved. They're aware, and as you know, like Nick comes to all the meetings, so like he knows everybody too.
Mhm.
So, I was so excited, and I'm not gonna lie, when you tell me you passed, I was like, it doesn't matter how anybody else did. Cassie passed.
Right.
Like the world is good. I'm like the world is fine. We'll figure that everybody else will figure out later. Even though like most people were texting me saying that they passed and everything, so I was like, it's all
Right.
fine. But yeah, you were the one that I was definitely waiting on. So I'm glad I didn't have to like wait for you for like
No.
hours and a
Yeah.
day. So, but I was so excited for you, because I know you've been through a lot with this. I mean, it had been like we kind of like reflected like how many years have we been working together. Like I know, and it was like it's like weird now to like go to like all the meetings and like you're not there, but like it's like a good feeling. So I'm just like she doesn't have to be here. She's off like working with her
Yeah.
people and all of that stuff. So, what kind of talk about the setting that you're working in now and how that's been going for you?
It's interesting. So I'm in a private, it's just a couple that it's kind of like it's it's a like medical daycare that hire out therapists to come do the therapy while the kids are there. And then they also do home health visits. So it's kind of like independent contracting in terms of like per patient. But it's pediatrics. It's just me. I get like an eval basically from the PT, and then it has like everything that I need on it basically. And then I get to go in like myself independently, make my own schedule in terms of like who I'm going to see at what location, where, whether that be in the actual medical daycare clinic or that be a home health visit, that kind of thing. I schedule in like, okay, this person needs to be seen 3 times a week. I'm going to see them, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And that's it. I go in, um, and I do my therapy with them. I do my notes on it and send it back to the PT, and she reviews them before submitting them into the insurance and everything. So it's interesting. I did not want to necessarily be a part of a big corporate company. It was definitely like something that I wanted to be, especially as a new grad. I just don't think I could handle multiple patients at once, especially like in pediatrics. You can't handle multiple
Yeah,
kids.
pediatrics is always one-on-one. Like
Yeah.
you can't double that
Yeah. No.
unless it's like somebody else who like does their own thing or whatever. Like the only time I ever doubled a peds patient was like somebody who's like had to their like work comp program, like they're already good and they know what they're doing, they go through it or whatever. Or like it's like the pediatric patient, like their mom like has knee pain, so she comes in like does it with them,
Mhm.
or, like their grandma that's watching them. Like that's the only time I've ever doubled a peds patient. Like
Yeah. No.
it's pretty complicated. So I know I've been dealing with some
Mhm.
pretty complex kiddos that come in.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see the variety because in kids, you're not treating injuries. Like, no one's coming to you with like an injury per se. They're just more so coming with deficits that you need to treat while they grow up, basically.
Mhm.
So it's interesting to see the variety of different things that I need to fix as the therapist. And it's also like a learning curve as like a new grad because they don't really go over peds a whole bunch in school. And I was always interested in doing peds as a therapist because that's what really got me into this was working with pediatrics. So I was always interested in that. I also really like sports medicine too. So that's like completely opposite. um,
I
so
feel like both you have to be really creative, though. I think a lot of people think that they're like, "Oh, I want to go into sports," and then they don't realize like how much creativity it come like like going into that requires. And I feel like that's the closest thing, honestly, I can feel to like a pediatrics patient, because you got to
Yeah,
like really create some crazy stuff, which is
yeah,
why I don't do too much sports or pediatrics.
right. You have to
I
like,
like stick to like a program.
right. Yeah, like, I just got to set
I like
things,
my post-surgical people because it's pretty straightforward, but I
protocols.
mean, I like working with them. I have a good time. That's all that matters, is like you find something that like there's so many different things and avenues you can go through in PT. You just gotta find something that,
Right.
you like and enjoy.
Yeah, it's yeah, very, very creative in terms of like the goals are in an eval are always so broad, and like dealing with kids, you have to convince them that this is something they want to do, this is a fun activity. So like like reaching across midline is such a huge thing, and like getting a kid to want to do that, it has to be like an activity for them. So it's like interesting to see like what I'm even able to come up with sometimes of like how we're working towards the goals. But like as long as we're reaching the goals and they're improving, then it's great, and it's fun because I mean it's really rewarding. Like when I had a patient who was able to like roll over, and that was like a huge thing. And he was so happy about it because I got really excited about it. I was like, oh my gosh, yay! Like I was so excited, and then he was so excited about it. And that has been like really rewarding. And I think that's the thing about kids. Like really, uh, if you're like really into kids, then this will be like really rewarding in terms of that field. But you have to be into that to want to do that. So, and
Yeah,
it's
to like really enjoy spending time with the kids.
right. It's like playtime, basically. I'm kind of like I feel like I'm a daycare sometimes in terms of like the therapy doesn't feel like it's therapy. So,
Mhm.
but I like that about it. So, if that's something, if anybody's like interested in, like, I definitely say pursue it. It's hard to get into pediatrics, especially as a new grad. So, I was kind of shocked that they were even willing to completely train me and everything.
Yeah, because you're getting good mentorship there with them.
Yeah, it's like just the couple. I'm directly under the PT, and she was directly training me for like a week and a half before I started to like see patients on my own and everything. And we both have like 2 meetings a week to check in to, and then she is like she's really open about suggestions for things too, from me and from her, and it's really been really good so far. And I like the flexibility of it. I can like go in and like see my patients and leave, and that's it. And I just go in, do what I need to do, play with the kids, and then dip out. So
There you go.
yeah,
That's
it's been
awesome.
fun. Yeah.
Especially for like the fulfillment side of everything. That's
Mhm.
definitely a wonderful part of the profession, to be able to have
Mhm.
that impact on the kids like that. So, if you had to give one piece of advice, and it could be more than one, because I always say one, and everyone looks at me and they're just like, I don't have just one. Like, what
Mhm.
be or some advice that you would have to give any like PTA student who's listening to this right now? Like, what would be like the most important like advice you would give someone?
My see, yeah, I don't have just one. My top two. um, really stick to a plan. I made excuses about my plan, like in my previous attempts. And that was really the difference in like having a good study plan and really sticking to it and being willing to put those hard topics on there and make sure you understand them, because that can increase your score just enough for you to pass. Is just like even one hard topic that you struggle with, like, so I really suggest like having a set plan, sticking to it, warning all those around you, setting the boundaries. Like, there was a lot of things that I missed testing so many times in like my personal life. And you the quicker you pass, the shorter amount of time you have to like miss out on things, if that makes sense. So, and like really getting yourself in the mindset, once you start to pass your practice exams and get the scores that you need to pass, it'll give you the confidence to go into the actual test and pass it the same way you've been passing it the whole time. So I definitely recommend like having a set plan and sticking to it and really working on like self-confidence, because I feel like that was a huge thing that I was missing in my previous attempts, because I would tell myself, oh, I'm going to pass this time, but not actually believe it, like subconsciously. Whereas like this time I was like, I'm passing. Like I know I could pass. I've passed my practice exams consistently. I'm doing everything that I could possibly do to pass. And so if I don't pass, then it really wasn't meant to be, and that was it, you know? So I recommend that. I also, there was a lot of boundaries in terms of that I had to set in terms of like my time. Like I was staying at work too late and bringing work home with me and allowing those around me to kind of dictate my time and where it was going to. So having to go back and really go, hey, I can't do that anymore. Like I have to leave on time because I have to be on a group coaching call, or I have to, you know, be in class or studying this, or and really like prioritizing the time and making the boundaries with those around me to do the plan that I set that I needed to do, basically. So
I think that is wonderful advice. And it just really encompasses when people say study more. And it's just like, no, we got to look at all the external things that you can control. So I really appreciate you giving that advice, Cassie. And thank you so much for coming on this podcast. I know you're really excited to do this, and I'm glad we were finally able to, do this session. So if people have any questions for you, I know you're a big person who like will give people advice and always reach out, but where can they find you to message you if they have any questions?
Everywhere, honestly. I've had a lot of students already reach out via school, so I do intend on like staying in the community.
Yeah. So that's our community, just for students who are in my courses, just so people know, which I know all of them will listen to this as well, because I'll post this in there for them. But Instagram wise, can they reach out to you on Instagram?
Yes. I believe I don't even know the name off the top of my head. I think it's casserole_16 on Instagram.
I can
Or
check
my
that for you.
or my Facebook page at Cassie Woods, although I will be changing my last name soon, so it won't be Woods until next year. And then after that it'll be Pope. So
Hope. There you
um
go.
but yeah, anywhere, honestly. But I'll send Brianna the actual names of things so she can put it in here if you want.
I will, because I just tried to type in your name and another person who's another casserole popped up.
Who would have thought? Okay,
I
interesting.
know, but maybe that was because it was on my personal one and not the business one. That
I'll
seems to be a popular one.
my email, you can email me. I have an email that, because I started my own podcast, that I like kind of gave up on, but it's survivingthetest@gmail.com. If
Well,
that's
there
like
you go.
that's like a separate email that isn't my personal one that people can email if they have questions too. I'll check it.
Your Instagram is Cassa, CASSA roll_16.
There you go. I made it when I was like 16, so
That's okay. I used to have an email that was like cheesegirl721@hotmail.com.
That's the one.
I think it was spelled like Ches, like
Ches.
Ches. It was crazy. But anyways, I still love cheese. Like I just ate up a whole charcuterie board yesterday, like at a bridal shower. It's amazing. So maybe I'll change it back. Maybe it's going to make a comeback.
I think
thank you so much. No, I'll do that. That'll be like my like secret Instagram or like secret TikTok that I'll use to like message people that like, when celebrities have like secret TikToks or whatever. Alrighty. Okay, Cassie. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you everybody for listening today. I hope you guys feel inspired and know that like no matter what's going on, like don't give up, keep pushing forward no matter how long it takes. And the only way you don't become a PTA is if you quit, which is very true. All right. Thank you. Bye guys. See you on the next one.